Hey there, St. John's community. It's Eva Cavaleri here, um, offering you some reflections for the Rector's Corner report this week in our newsletter. Um, I'm just coming out of a Wednesday evening gathering with some folks who gathered for the opportunity to have some prayer, community, and reflection together about everything that's happening in our world this week. And I went ahead and reprised one of our readings from Sunday morning, and it was the one from First Kings. And I'm going to share it with you briefly and then offer a few reflections and an invitation. So here goes. A reading from the first book of Kings. At that place where Elijah came to a cave and spent the night there, the word of the Lord came to him saying, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" He answered, "I have been very zealous for the Lord, the God of hosts, for the Israelites have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and killed your prophets with the sword. I alone am left, and they are seeking my life to take it away." He said, "Go out and stand on the mountain before the Lord, for the Lord is about to pass by." Now there was a great wind, so strong that it was splitting mountains and breaking rocks in pieces before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake. But the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire. But the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, a sound of silence. When Elijah heard it, he wrapped his face in his mantle and went out and stood at the entrance of the cave. Then there came a voice to him that said, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" And that is the word of the Lord. So I reprised that reading from Sunday and shared it in our community for reflection. And what came was a very fruitful conversation that invited each of us to reflect a bit on the chaos of the world around us and finding a metaphor in the various natural disasters that Elijah experienced on the side of that mountain, wondering if he could find God there, and how both elusive and yet desirable it is that ultimately God became present to Elijah in that silence. And we toyed with that sort of tension of contemplation and action, and how this passage really illustrates this sense of invitation to do both. That this is both a time for reflection and an opportunity to remind ourselves amidst the chaos that surrounds us, that we continue to commit ourselves through our faith and one another to love, to care, to dignity, to respect. And then also finding outlets for action. And so that ultimate question, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" was one that is the invitation for each of us to take with us in our own hearts to consider, what are we doing here? What do we need in this moment? And what is our ultimate sense of purpose and the next step that we might take? And as you know, St. John's, you have so many opportunities to have outlets to exercise your ministry in the world. And that is an incredible privilege and gift. And you know, Ann Dursey and the cadre of, I think there's like 17 outward facing ministries at St. John's. Please ask someone if you're wondering how to get connected, if you're not already there. And the equal and opposite, where might you find some silence today or throughout the summer? And the reason that you see this shot behind me, it's one of the many photos I've taken of a beloved place that I spend a lot of time on the weekends in Rock Creek Park here in DC. This is my place. There's a series of trails that I go to regularly with my dog and occasional dear friends who I drag along with me. And we find something greater than ourselves here. and even some sheer silence. So I'm curious to know, where are your places of contemplation where you might find the voice of God speaking to you in the silence? I invite you to share those places with one another and come and tell me. I'm really curious to know, where do you find God? Where do you find silence, holy silence, that you may find the space to contemplate your response to what you are doing here? Thank you, St. John's. I look forward to seeing you on Sunday.